Alright guys, back with another video for the controller guide. Today, I think I'm going to talk about how I set up my hotbar and why I set it up the way I do. And I'm not talking about sharing or anything like that. I'm talking specifically in combat stuff. Lilith is a noob jumping around me. But anyway. So, I'm going to bring up probably one of the easier classes to play to go through basic reasons to why I set it up the way I do. Actually, you know what? Not a good class to start with. We'll start with why not Ninja. So, you remember when I talked about hotbar sharing? Hotbars shared, whatever. I got my weapons, and I have these two hotbars, and I have these two shared, or not shared, but simultaneous pressed across hotbar 8. Now I know when I switch between hotbar 1 and 2, it doesn't really look like much changes, and that's because not much changes. And the reason for this is because I find it simple. Simplicity is key. You don't want to have too much clutter on anything that you do. So, now you don't have to follow this verbatim, each skill that I put where I put it, but it's a good guide, I would say, as to why you should do certain things for all classes. So, for me, I find it very comfortable in any rotation to go from the right trigger is to right trigger O, right trigger triangle, right trigger square. And if I don't use right trigger square to end something, I'll use right trigger X. So, as you can see here, I have all the same skills except for my face buttons on the right trigger. This is because I like to have my cooldowns in all the same places. That way, no matter what hotbar I'm on, I have easy access to them, and I don't have to search or try and remember what hotbar I'm on. And then these are just the basic combat buttons, and this goes for every job. So you'll see here, going to combat real quick, I go through a simple rotation, and then I can just switch real quick. I can put up a dot. I just come right back. Then if I want to, put up dancing edge, I can go with X. All on the face buttons. And the reason is because if you use the face buttons, you can easily move while you're doing anything. Right now I'm using the auto lock feature. I'll go over that in another video, but I find it invaluable to using a controller. We're going to step away from Ninja real quick. I'll bring up another class that utilizes the same exact structure. Monk. Monk is the class that I leveled up. It's probably in the middle. 6th or 7th class I leveled up. And this is what really set the tone for where do I put my skills at. So, as you can see, not much changes. Now my face buttons on the left trigger change, but that's because of an AoE rotation. And that's it. But, as you can see on the face button, even on a AoE rotation, I still go circle, triangle, and square. So it stays the same. But as a monk, I find it really nice to keep my two combos on different bars, or on the same buttons but different bars. And as you can also see, most of my cooldowns and off global cooldowns are in the same spots. So simple monk rotation is if have demolish up, then dragon kick and twin snakes up all the time. This makes it nice. You can just go back and forth between your combos, and the only real button you have to change in your combo is whether or not you use X. So here I'll use X as my demolish, and I'll come right back in. I'm going to end with square more than I end with X. But I'm going to go circle, triangle, square almost every other time. So this is not a job guide for any job. This is simple. Here's where I put stuff in this. I'm just giving the different classes that I have as examples. Dragoon, another one. You can see that only my face buttons change. Circle, triangle, square. Circle, triangle, square. Easy stuff. The only thing that I changed for the X button is AoE stuff. Is what I use for my AoEs. Now I want to go back to Ninja and I want to touch on something. There's usually a dot that is off global cooldown for the melee classes. And I keep that in the same spot for class. I also keep my off global cooldowns in the same spots for every class. No, I did not forget to put phlebotomize up or mutilate up or touch of death up when I was showing you how I went through my rotation. I went through my buttons there because I wasn't going through a rotation. But personally, I just keep it on the right D-pad with R. So you can see my mutilates there. You can see touch of death is there. You can see phlebotomize is there. That's just where I keep it. Warrior, where I keep Skull Sunder. That's where I keep my non-comboed dots for classes. Now, the reason I didn't start with Paladin is because as a Paladin, I only use one hotbar. That's just because there's not as many skills that you have to utilize, and you can put them on this expanded bar. A lot of the skills that Paladin uses, for example, are just cooldowns. And you're not using a cooldown in a combo. You're not using them frequently like you would simple boot shine. But you have circle, triangle, square. Now I want to point out that you don't have to use circle, triangle, square. You can use whatever you want that you feel comfortable with, but I suggest keeping that same combo for all your classes. Now don't worry, I won't shy away. I even use it for my ranged classes. So, circle, triangle, square. I use the same combo for everything. Summoner, Scholar. My healer classes are not set up like DPS classes, but I have a separate hotbar that I have DPS on, and it's still circle, triangle, square. For my bard, or for my warrior even, circle, triangle, square. Circle, triangle, square. And when I have a separate combo for something, I just find a place for it, to be honest. For me, I just put Storm's Eye there, and for Paladin, I put Riot Blade here. I don't use Riot Blade very often, so whatever. Bard. Now, Bard doesn't have a rotation necessarily, but you want to place things. You always want to have your straight shot up first, and then you want to get your dots up. So circle, triangle, and square. X is the button I use to mash with, and by mash I mean it's what I use as my repetitive for classes that use repetitives. So for Bard, it's heavy shot. For summoner, combat. For summoner, it's ruin and ruin 2. For black mage, it's fire. It's the one that you're going to use more often than the other ones. It's comfortable to have it on X. But as a black mage, still use the same combo. Circle, triangle, square. Now this isn't necessarily the way you start off as a black mage, but you can see that it still holds true. So say I ran out of MP, I'd go circle. I use Thunder 1 in my black mage rotation. Circle, triangle, and square. Mash X, just like everything else. Reiterate again, I'm not telling you where to put your stuff, I'm telling you how to put it. How to put your stuff. You want to try and keep it the same for everything, so every time you learn something, it's not so new. You don't have scatterbrained classes or skills all over the place. Now I've drilled that into your brain, because I did for almost every job. We'll talk about buffs. Buffs and off global cooldowns. Off global cooldowns I'll touch real quick. I keep those in the same places. Not necessarily in the most ideal places, but I keep them in the same place for all my jobs. So I use up and left on the D-pad. Dragoon is a little different because it's got a lot of off global cooldowns. But not everything can be exactly the same. But cooldowns. Cooldowns I like to keep on my left trigger and the D-pads. For almost all classes. So life surge, blood for blood, this and that. And this is more primarily for offensive cooldowns. Tanks are different. But I have those in the same spot. And if there's a repeated cooldown, offensive cooldown, I'll keep them in the same spot as well. So my blood for blood is always there for all my jobs. My internal release is always there. All the jobs that use internal release. Ooh, Bard's different. Because, yeah. So I lied. My bad. Bard is just full of offensive buffs, and that's what makes a Bard sustainable. They have so many buffs. Bard is another class that I only use one hotbar for, because I'm not going to be singing songs every 5 seconds. I'm not going to be, if I'm doing AoE, it's usually just in a dungeon pool. I just do my AoEs here. So yeah. Let's see what else is there. Or in combat. In combat use of skills. Can't really say there is too much. I want to repeat, this is not a job guide. It's not how to play Bard. It's not how to play Monk. It's more of a, you should keep your stuff in the same general pattern for all your jobs, so that it's easier to do. So, especially for the new players, you should work on setting up a hotbar for your first job that you level up, and then trying to keep it similar amongst most of your classes. I said it won't be exactly the same, but similar meaning your core rotation or core set of skills that you use in a certain pattern should stay the same pattern across all your classes. I think I'm going to stop rambling. That's what I do. Ramble. Right there for now. And the next episode, I will cover something else. I'm winging this, okay? I'm winging this. I hope it helps. Catch you guys later.